Welcome to our channel HD Rare Coin 111, your go-to spot for uncovering the incredible world of rare US coins. If you've ever wondered if your old pennies, nickels, or dimes are worth more than face value, you're about to find out. In today's video, we'll be exploring some truly rare coins and their shocking values. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So let's jump in. Top 1. The Roosevelt dime, a staple of American coinage, has become a symbol of the United States' appreciation for President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a leader who served during one of the most challenging periods in the nation's history. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, just after Roosevelt's death, to honor his legacy, particularly his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. Over the decades, this coin has become much more than just a dime. It represents both the history of a nation and the enduring qualities of a leader who shaped the course of American life. As we focus on the 1967 Roosevelt dime, we enter an interesting era in the coin's history. This coin was minted during a time when the U.S. Mint had already switched to a clad composition, abandoning the high silver content that the dime once held in the pre-1965 years. Still, the Roosevelt dime, especially the 1967 version, is a fascinating piece to discuss not only for its history but for its significance to collectors and investors alike. The history of the Roosevelt dime itself is intertwined with the figure of Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose face graces the obverse side of the coin. Roosevelt was a pivotal figure in American politics, particularly known for his leadership during the Great Depression and his efforts to establish programs that provided relief to millions of struggling Americans. It was also Roosevelt who led the country through World War II, advocating for democracy on a global scale. So, when the U.S. Mint decided to issue a dime in his honor, they chose to feature his image, capturing his legacy in a coin that would be in circulation for generations. When the coin was first minted in 1946, it was composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, just like other dimes produced in the pre-1965 era. This was a time when silver coins still circulated in everyday transactions. However, as silver prices soared in the late 1960s, the U.S. Mint made the decision to reduce the silver content in most coins, including the Roosevelt dime. In 1965, the Mint began producing coins made of copper-nickel clad, which dramatically reduced the intrinsic value of the coin's metal content. Despite this change, the Roosevelt dime retained its symbolic importance, especially for collectors and those who were passionate about the history behind the coin. Fast forward to 1967, a year that is particularly notable for a number of reasons. The world was experiencing significant political and social upheaval. The Vietnam War was escalating, and the civil rights movement was in full swing, challenging the nation to address the racial inequalities that still existed. In this climate of change, the 1967 Roosevelt dime was minted with the same design that had been in place for over 2 decades. The obverse showed the iconic profile of President Roosevelt, while the reverse side featured a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, all symbols of freedom and unity. What makes the 1967 Roosevelt dime so interesting to collectors today is that, although it was produced in large quantities, the coin was struck at a time when silver was no longer part of its composition. This is particularly noteworthy because it marks the end of an era for U.S. coins. The 1967 Roosevelt dime, along with other dimes produced around that time, would be one of the last to circulate with any historical silver content. This adds a layer of rarity to the coin, as collectors who focus on coins with historical significance and a connection to the past are particularly drawn to pieces like the 1967 version. While the coin may not have been minted with precious metals like its predecessors, the Roosevelt dime still holds a place in numismatic history, and its value has risen over time. Although the U.S. Mint produced millions of these coins in 1967, not all of them are in circulation today. Many were lost or damaged over the years, leaving a smaller pool of well-preserved examples that are still available for collectors to acquire. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value today, with higher-grade coins being far more valuable than those that have been worn down by decades of use. But what about the value of the 1967 Roosevelt dime in terms of money? Despite the fact that the coin was produced in large quantities, it's worth noting that coins from specific years, especially those with unique characteristics or high demand, can command impressive prices at auction. The 1967 Roosevelt dime, in particular, stands out for its potential to fetch significant amounts in the market. For collectors and investors, this coin is more than just a relic of the past. It's a piece of American history, imbued with cultural and historical significance that has only increased over time. Now, you might be wondering, how much is a 1967 Roosevelt dime worth today? Well, the price of this coin can vary depending on several factors, including its condition, rarity, and how well it has been preserved. While most 1967 Roosevelt dimes in average circulation condition may only be worth a small premium over face value, coins that are in near mint or uncirculated condition can be worth much more. Additionally, coins that have been graded by professional services and have earned high grades will typically fetch higher prices at auctions and private sales. The rarest of these coins, especially those that have been perfectly preserved and are in flawless condition, have been known to sell for as much as $113,000. Yes, that's right, $113,000 for a single 1967 Roosevelt dime. While that's not the price you can expect for every coin in this series, it's a powerful reminder of how valuable rare, well-preserved coins can be in the world of numismatics. The demand for quality pieces from this era has grown significantly, making coins like the 1967 Roosevelt dime incredibly valuable to serious collectors and investors. In conclusion, the 1967 Roosevelt dime is much more than just a piece of currency. It is a lasting tribute to one of the most important figures in American history, and its continued popularity and rising value reflect its significance to collectors. Whether you're someone who simply appreciates the design and history behind the coin or you're an investor seeking to add to your portfolio, the 1967 Roosevelt dime is an excellent choice. With a value that can reach up to $113,000, this coin offers an intriguing look at the world of numismatics and serves as a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected treasures can be found in the most unlikely places. Top 2. We dive deep into the story of the 1980 Roosevelt dime, exploring its historical context, design, and the surprising value that it holds in the world of collectors. The Roosevelt dime, introduced in 1946, was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away the year before. Roosevelt was one of the most influential U.S. presidents, leading the country through the Great Depression and World War II. His image is now forever etched on the obverse of this dime. But as time went on, the coin would evolve and reflect the changing times of the country, and this is where the 1980 Roosevelt dime comes into play. In 1980, the coin was part of a long-running tradition, and yet, it was produced during a period of significant change in the United States. The economy of the 1980s was in transition, with the U.S. grappling with inflation, economic downturns, and significant shifts in the global marketplace. In this climate, the 1980 Roosevelt dime, like the others that came before it, continued to circulate as a symbol of both stability and change. What many might not know, however, is that this dime holds more value today than its face value would suggest. In terms of design, the 1980 Roosevelt dime maintained the iconic look that had been in place since its introduction. On the obverse side, the profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt looks out with a quiet yet powerful demeanor. His portrait was taken from a photograph by the famous photographer Vladimir R. Bogdanov, and it has become one of the most recognizable faces in the history of American coinage. The reverse of the coin, designed by John R. Sinek, depicts a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch. The torch symbolizes liberty, the olive branch represents peace, and the oak branch stands for strength. These symbols have helped to solidify the coin's place as a lasting tribute to the ideals that Roosevelt himself embodied. However, while the 1980 Roosevelt dime looks very similar to other dimes from the 20th century, there are several reasons why collectors and investors have taken an interest in this particular year. One of the reasons is that it is a part of the U.S. Mint's ongoing process of coinage production, with millions of these dimes being struck that year. But while most coins in circulation tend to lose their value due to wear and tear, certain examples, especially those that have been well preserved, can become highly sought after by collectors. You might be thinking that, like many other coins from the 1980s, the Roosevelt dime from this year wouldn't be worth much more than a few dollars in its circulated state. After all, the coin is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, which was standard for dimes after the U.S. Mint moved away from using silver in coins post-1964. The 1980 Roosevelt dime is not made of precious metals, and that often leads people to think it wouldn't carry much value beyond its nominal worth of 10 cents. But the reality is that, like many coins, the 1980 Roosevelt dime's value comes from its rarity, condition, and the demand from collectors. For coins like the 1980 Roosevelt dime, a critical factor in determining its value is its condition. Coins that have been in circulation for many years often show signs of wear, scratches, and fading, which significantly lowers their value. However, coins that have been kept in pristine condition, either uncirculated or only lightly circulated, tend to increase in worth. A coin with a grade of MS, mint state, 65 or higher can be a valuable treasure for numismatists. The higher the grade, the more a coin can fetch at an auction or from private buyers. As for the 1980 Roosevelt dime, its value has steadily increased as time has passed. While it started as just another dime in everyday use, its value has been influenced by the scarcity of high-quality, well-preserved examples, and the growing interest in coins from this period. Collectors are often drawn to the Roosevelt dime not only because of its historical significance but because it represents a tangible link to the past, a past that many collectors wish to preserve. It's a coin that tells the story of a nation through the life of its president, one who shaped the country during difficult times and whose memory lives on in the currency. But what is the value of the 1980 Roosevelt dime today? While a single dime from 1980 in regular circulation might not be worth much more than its face value, certain pristine examples can fetch a premium. High-grade coins in mint condition can be worth a lot more, especially if they have been preserved in the right conditions. For collectors who are seeking to add a special piece to their collection, finding a 1980 Roosevelt dime in perfect condition could be a dream come true. As for the highest value that has been known to be achieved for a 1980 Roosevelt dime, it's not uncommon for well-preserved versions to be sold for impressive amounts. In fact, the 1980 Roosevelt dime has been known to sell for up to $70,000 in some cases, making it a highly valuable coin for those in the know. When you think about it, this price point might seem extraordinary for a coin that started as a 10-cent piece, but this is the nature of the numismatic world. Coins like the 1980 Roosevelt dime grow in value over time, especially when they are linked to important moments in history and have survived the wear and tear of years in circulation. Collectors and investors understand that these coins are more than just metal, they are pieces of history, and as such, their value only continues to rise. The 1980 Roosevelt dime stands as a testament to this fact, as collectors continue to search for well-preserved examples that can hold or increase their value. In conclusion, the 1980 Roosevelt dime is a beautiful and significant coin, both in terms of its design and its value. What may have once been seen as a simple dime is now regarded as a valuable piece of history. From the iconic image of President Franklin D. Roosevelt to the symbolism of the reverse design, this coin is a lasting tribute to the ideals that helped shape the United States. And for those who are lucky enough to own one in mint condition, the 1980 Roosevelt dime could be worth up to $70,000. Top 3. The Roosevelt dime is one of the most iconic coins in American history, and among the many years it was minted, the 1983 Roosevelt dime holds a special place. Produced during a time of significant economic challenges and changes, this coin is much more than a simple 10-cent piece. Over time, it has become a valuable collector's item, representing not just a fraction of currency but also a significant link to a critical period in American history. Let's take a step back and look at the history of the Roosevelt dime, and why the 1983 version is so important. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946. Following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had served as the 32nd President of the United States. His leadership through the Great Depression and World War II left an indelible mark on the nation, and it was fitting that his image would be immortalized on the dime. This coin is symbolic of Roosevelt's legacy and the ideals he stood for, making it a coin of both historical and emotional significance. Over the years, the Roosevelt dime has undergone little change in design. The obverse side features Roosevelt's portrait, taken from a photograph by the renowned photographer Vladimir R. Bogdanov. The reverse side, designed by John R. Sinek, showcases a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, each symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. These simple yet powerful symbols continue to reflect the core values of the United States. By the time we reached 1983, the country had seen numerous changes since the Roosevelt dime was first introduced. The 1980s were a period of economic recovery after the struggles of the 1970s. The country was bouncing back from an era of inflation, high interest rates, and rising unemployment, which had dominated much of the previous decade. Under President Ronald Reagan's leadership, the economy was in the process of rebuilding, and inflation was starting to stabilize. The 1983 Roosevelt dime, minted during this time, carries with it a sense of hope and recovery, a reminder of the resilience of the American people during difficult times. In terms of its physical design, the 1983 Roosevelt dime does not differ from the previous issues of the coin. Its size and composition remain the same, with a copper nickel-clad core and a diameter of 17.91 millimeters. But what makes this coin stand out is the way it was produced. The 1983 Roosevelt dime was minted at a time when the United States Mint had begun to refine its coin production methods. This refinement led to coins that were struck with greater precision, with higher quality finishes that would appeal to collectors in the years to come. But what does all of this mean for the value of the 1983 Roosevelt dime today? While many coins produced during the 1980s may have been viewed as nothing more than a regular form of currency, the 1983 Roosevelt dime has garnered attention for its rarity and quality. As with most coins, the condition of the piece plays a significant role in determining its value. Coins that have been well preserved, with no wear or discoloration, are much more valuable than those that have been heavily circulated. Collectors tend to prize coins that are in near perfect or mint condition, and the 1983 Roosevelt dime is no exception. One of the key reasons why the 1983 Roosevelt dime stands out among its peers is the rarity of high-grade examples. While millions of these coins were minted, finding one that has remained in pristine condition is a challenge. Many of the dimes produced that year have been in circulation, subject to wear and tear, which can affect their value. However, for those who are fortunate enough to possess a coin in uncirculated condition, the value can be significantly higher than its face value. The 1983 Roosevelt dime has become a sought-after piece for collectors due to its rarity and high grades. Over the years, it has gained a reputation as one of the more collectible dimes from the 1980s. The market for such coins is continually growing, and many collectors are on the lookout for well-preserved examples of the 1983 dime to add to their collections. As demand increases for coins like this, the price continues to rise, making it a valuable investment for numismatists. In fact, when we look at the market trends, the 1983 Roosevelt dime has been known to fetch impressive prices at auctions and through private sales. A coin in mint condition, graded as MS-65 or higher, can sell for much more than its face value. The rarity of these coins, combined with their historical significance and their timeless design, has made them highly desirable to both seasoned collectors and newcomers to the hobby alike. Now, let's talk about the price. For those who are lucky enough to find a 1983 Roosevelt dime in excellent condition, the value can reach astonishing heights. While a typical circulated dime from 1983 may not be worth much more than a few dollars, a pristine, uncirculated version of the coin has been known to sell for an impressive sum. In fact, a 1983 Roosevelt dime in near-perfect condition can be worth up to $64,000. It's remarkable to think that a simple 10-cent piece, once just a regular part of daily transactions, can now command such a high price. But this is the magic of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. It's not just about the metal or the size of the coin, it's about the story behind it, the history it represents, and the people who collect it. For those who understand the value of rare coins, the 1983 Roosevelt dime is a prime example of how a coin's worth can grow over time, especially when it is connected to a moment in history and is preserved in perfect condition. As we wrap up this exploration of the 1983 Roosevelt dime, it's important to remember that the value of coins like these doesn't just lie in their face value or their precious metal content. It lies in their story, their condition, and their place in the ongoing history of the United States. The 1983 Roosevelt dime, like other coins before it, is a link to a moment in time that shaped the country. And for those who own a well-preserved example, it serves as a tangible connection to the past, a piece of American history that continues to hold significant value. So, if you're lucky enough to have a 1983 Roosevelt dime, or if you're on the hunt for one, remember that its value could be much higher than you think. With a potential worth of $64,000, this coin is not just a small piece of currency, it's a collectible treasure. Top 4. In the world of coin collecting, certain pieces stand out not just for their historical significance, but for their potential to become valuable treasures. One such coin is the 1991 Roosevelt dime. A coin that has captured the attention of collectors and investors alike, this seemingly modest dime holds a fascinating story of design, production, and of course, a growing value over the years. If you're a coin enthusiast or simply curious about the world of numismatics, you're in for an exciting journey as we delve into the details of the 1991 Roosevelt dime and its remarkable worth. Let's start with a brief overview of the Roosevelt dime itself. Introduced in 1946, the Roosevelt dime was created to honor the late President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. He was widely admired for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, and it was fitting that his image would be immortalized on a U.S. coin. Designed by John R. Sinek, the Roosevelt dime quickly became a fixture in American currency, known for its dignified portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse and the symbol of strength, peace, and liberty on the reverse, featuring a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch. Now, let's fast forward to 1991, a year that may not stand out in the minds of many when it comes to significant historical events. But it holds particular importance for collectors of Roosevelt dimes. The 1991 Roosevelt dime, like others produced during the 1990s, was minted using the same copper-nickel-clad composition and the same size, 17.91 mm in diameter, making it identical in physical appearance to its predecessors. However, it is the rarity, condition, and demand for well-preserved 1991 dimes that have led them to become valuable collector's items in recent years. In the early 1990s, the U.S. economy was undergoing significant changes. The country was in the midst of an economic expansion, with the stock market booming and technology companies starting to take center stage. The dollar had strengthened, and inflation was under control. This period of relative prosperity meant that the Roosevelt dime was still a commonly used form of currency. However, little did people know that some of these coins, especially those that were struck with exceptional quality, would eventually become highly sought after by numismatists. So, what makes the 1991 Roosevelt dime so special? To answer that, we have to consider the factors that determine a coin's value in the world of coin collecting. As with any collectible, rarity, condition, and demand are the key ingredients that can elevate a coin's worth. In 1991, the U.S. Mint produced over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes, meaning the coin was not exactly rare in terms of mintage. However, the condition of the coin plays a crucial role in its value. Coins that have been circulated extensively over the years may show signs of wear, which can drastically lower their worth. On the other hand, coins that have remained in pristine condition, free from scratches, dings, and discoloration, are much more desirable to collectors. The 1991 Roosevelt dime is particularly valuable when it is found in uncirculated or near-perfect condition. These coins are often graded using a scale known as the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. A 1991 Roosevelt dime that has been graded MS 65 or higher, meaning it is nearly flawless, can fetch impressive prices at auctions or in private sales. The better the grade, the higher the price. It's not uncommon for a well-preserved 1991 Roosevelt dime to sell for significantly more than its face value of just 10 cents. But beyond the physical condition of the coin, the growing interest in collecting coins from the 1990s has also contributed to the rise in the value of the 1991 Roosevelt dime. As collectors continue to search for coins from this era, the demand for coins in top-tier condition has increased. This surge in demand, coupled with the fact that certain high-grade 1991 dimes are in limited supply, has led to an increase in their value over the years. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for coins that are not only rare but also hold historical significance. The 1991 Roosevelt dime, while not as iconic as some of the older coins in the U.S. mint's history, still represents a moment in time, an era of technological advancements, economic growth, and cultural change. As a result, these coins have garnered the attention of collectors who are keen on securing pieces that represent the diverse and ever-evolving history of the United States. The allure of the 1991 Roosevelt dime doesn't just lie in its rarity or its condition, it also resides in the value that collectors place on it. As with any collectible, the perceived worth of a coin is ultimately shaped by the market. Over the years, we've seen the price of the 1991 Roosevelt dime steadily increase, and it's no surprise that this coin is now considered a valuable asset for those who understand the world of numismatics. So, how much is a 1991 Roosevelt dime worth today? While a typical, circulated dime from that year may only be worth a few dollars at best, a well-preserved, uncirculated example of the coin can fetch a substantial amount. The rarest, highest-graded versions of the 1991 Roosevelt dime have sold for upwards of $48,000. That's right. What once was just a simple 10-cent piece is now worth a small fortune to collectors who recognize its value. As we wrap up, it's clear that the 1991 Roosevelt dime is more than just a coin. It's a piece of American history, a symbol of an era of economic growth and change, and a valuable collectible that has only gained in worth over time. For those who are fortunate enough to own a pristine example of this coin, it's a true treasure. So, if you come across a 1991 Roosevelt dime, take a moment to appreciate its significance, and remember that it might just be worth far more than you think. With a potential worth of $48,000, this simple dime is not just a coin, it's a rare and valuable piece of numismatic history. Top 5. Imagine stumbling upon a coin that seems to hold no more value than the 10 cents it was initially minted to represent. Now imagine discovering that, in the world of numismatics, that same coin is worth thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands, of dollars. One such coin, which has captured the attention of collectors and investors alike, is the 1990 Roosevelt dime. While the coin may appear to be nothing more than a humble dime, its history, rarity, and condition make it a highly sought-after piece in the coin collecting world. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American currency for decades, first introduced in 1946 to honor the legacy of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. Designed by John R. Sinek, the Roosevelt dime features a portrait of the late president on the obverse side, with the reverse displaying a simple yet powerful design of a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch. These symbols represent the values of strength, peace, and unity, qualities that Roosevelt exemplified during his time in office, particularly in his leadership through the Great Depression and World War II. Now, let's focus on the specific year, 1990, which saw the release of another batch of Roosevelt dimes. In comparison to some of the rarer coins out there, the 1990 version was not initially considered particularly special. The U.S. Mint produced over 800 million dimes that year, and at the time, no one expected the 1990 Roosevelt dime to become a major collector's item. It was simply a regular circulating coin. However, as time passed, collectors and numismatists began to notice something about this coin that would eventually cause its value to skyrocket. In the world of coin collecting, a coin's value is determined by several factors: its rarity, condition, and the demand for it in the market. While there are plenty of 1990 Roosevelt dimes out there, a small fraction of them were produced with exceptional quality. This is where the coin's story gets interesting. Coins that have been kept in pristine, uncirculated condition can fetch a premium price compared to those that have seen significant wear and tear over the years. In the case of the 1990 Roosevelt dime, collectors who have managed to secure high-grade specimens have found themselves holding onto a treasure worth much more than 10 cents. When it comes to evaluating the condition of a coin, numismatists use a grading scale known as the Sheldon scale. This scale ranges from 1 to 70, with 70 being the highest grade possible. Coins that are graded 65 or above are considered to be in mint state, meaning they show no significant signs of wear and retain nearly perfect details. These high-grade coins are the ones that drive up the value of the 1990 Roosevelt dime. If you're fortunate enough to own an uncirculated 1990 Roosevelt dime with a grade of MS 65 or higher, you may be sitting on a small fortune. While the 1990 Roosevelt dime was widely produced, its appeal lies in the fact that certain examples are rare and highly prized. The demand for high-quality dimes from this era has grown over the years, leading to an increase in the coin's value. In fact, a 1990 Roosevelt dime in near-perfect condition has been known to sell for significant amounts at auctions, with collectors eager to add it to their collections. This is where the value of the coin starts to become apparent. What was once a simple, everyday dime has transformed into a valuable piece of history. Now, let's talk numbers. While a typical 1990 Roosevelt dime in average circulated condition may only be worth a few dollars, a pristine, uncirculated version can easily fetch a much higher price. Coins that have been graded MS 67 or higher can command prices well above their face value. In fact, in some instances, these rare coins have sold for as much as $50,000. That's right, what started as a 10-cent coin can, under the right circumstances, be worth $50,000. But what makes the 1990 Roosevelt dime so valuable? It's a combination of factors. For one, the 1990 coin marks the end of the decade, a time when the U.S. Mint was producing large quantities of dimes. Because there was such a high volume of dimes minted that year, the coins that managed to escape circulation in perfect condition are rare indeed. Furthermore, collectors have become increasingly interested in completing their collections of Roosevelt dimes from the 1990s, leading to a rise in demand for these specific coins. As the supply of high-quality 1990 dimes continues to dwindle, the value of those that remain in near-perfect condition continues to climb. One of the reasons that Roosevelt dimes from the 1990s have become so valuable is the increasing interest in modern coins. While older coins, such as those from the 1800s, have long been the focus of collectors, more and more people are now seeking out coins from the latter half of the 20th century. The 1990 Roosevelt dime is an excellent example of how coins from this period can carry significant value, particularly when they are in exceptional condition. In addition to its monetary value, the 1990 Roosevelt dime also holds historical significance. As a coin that was minted during the final years of the Cold War, it represents a time of geopolitical tension and rapid technological advancement. It's a reminder of the world that was in the process of changing, and it's a tangible piece of history that speaks to the resilience and continuity of the U.S. Mint and its ability to produce high-quality currency year after year. For collectors, owning a 1990 Roosevelt dime in perfect condition is not just about the value. It's about the pride of owning a rare and well-preserved piece of American numismatic history. It's a symbol of the meticulous craftsmanship that goes into creating coins, as well as a tribute to the legacy of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose image graces the obverse of the coin. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who's just starting out, the 1990 Roosevelt dime is a coin that commands respect and admiration. So, how much is a 1990 Roosevelt dime worth? If you happen to come across a high-grade version of this coin, you could be looking at a staggering $50,000. Yes, that's right, $50,000 for a coin that was once worth just 10 cents. It's amazing how time, rarity, and condition can transform a simple piece of currency into a highly coveted collectible.